Toon Under Podcast, the Southern Hemisphere's original and best podcast dedicated to everything Newcastle United. Today we're going to talk about the preview for the Wolves game, and before we get started, I'd like to introduce the two banana benders, Craig and Lee. How are we tonight, fellas?
I'm all right, mate. Bit warm, bit sticky up here in central Queensland, you know, the proper part of the world, unlike where you are. But yeah, it's warm, it's sticky, but I'm looking forward to doing tonight.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
How about you, Lee?
We might be banana benders, mate, but we're not penguin botherers like you lot down there. So, yeah, there's none of that shit.
I'm not sure what's worse, to be honest.
The second one.
All right, enough of animal bothering and other fruit paraphernalia. So Newcastle back at St James's Park after a few weeks off for a Sunday 4:30 p.m. kickoff, which is live on Sky. It's almost the graveyard. It's probably not almost. It is the graveyard shift for us. So it's 3:30 a.m. for normal people in Victoria and New South Wales. It is 2:30 a.m. Monday morning. That is Australian Bender time, ABT. Everywhere else, check your local guides for details. They'll fill you in. I know I'm not going to get up and watch this game. Craig, I know you'll be getting up to watch this game. Lee, are you getting up to watch this game?
Stick it up your ass.
We are very lucky here in Australia where we can catch up when we wake up in the morning. We can choose to watch the full 90 minutes if it's a great win. If it's a boring draw, we can watch the 10-minute or half an hour mini match. Or if it's a bad loss, we can just watch the 3-minute highlight clip and not ever have to watch it again.
Just not watch it at all.
Or watch it at all. Depends how bad it is.
I've still not watched that Liverpool game yet. I still haven't watched that Liverpool game. I don't want to just forget it.
Yeah, neither did I. So I'm with you. I don't want to. Real fair weather supporters win through thick and thin, as long as we win. Okay, so Wolves, after a substandard sort of first half of the season, I'd say they've managed to sort of claw their way to 13th. 5 points clear of the relegation zone now. Craig, are they in the dogfight, as it likes to be called around these parts, the old relegation dogfight? Are they in?
Absolutely, yeah. They've got some tough games coming up. Games after us. I think they're playing Leeds and Nottingham Forest, so they're two massive games in that relegation dogfight. They don't get any positive results from them. They're well back in the thick of it, and who knows what will happen from that.
Well, we could have a double cliche here. Is that a 6-pointer for the dogfights? Is that a good old-fashioned 6-pointer?
Could very well be. You know, it's crazy tight down there. Can't remember the last time it was that tight down the bottom over the last few years. Even last year when we were down there was only maybe 4 or 5 teams looking like relegation specialists. Whereas now you've got maybe 6, 7, 8 teams that could easily be dragged into it. Not a problem at all. Just takes 1 or 2 losses and you're back in the shit, you know?
Yeah, definitely. It's actually funny you mentioned that Leeds and Forest are their next 2 games as well. I'm not sure if most people know, but Ruben Neves he's only got 1 slice of cheese left before he's going to serve a 2-game ban. So what do you reckon, Lee? Do you reckon he'll play this game or come off the bench and they'll save him for them 2 really important games they've got coming up?
I don't know. Any idea? I mean, I don't know how they're looking at this. You know,
what would you do? Would you just play him and hope he gets away with it, or?
Normally, well, I mean, is this the last game he's got to get through before it's reset or something? Like, I mean,
no. Look, but if he gets a yellow card now, he's going to miss 2 games, so he'll miss 2 games against Forest and Leeds.
You know, they could potentially get 3 points against us, and then then the pressure to get 2 wins isn't so high on the next 2 games. I'm looking at the table here. Bournemouth right at the bottom on 21, and it's all the way up to Palace in 12th on 27. 9 teams in it really, and then you got Villa with a gap on 34 in 11th. So they're 13th, 5 points clear of Everton in the last relegation zone position. So a couple of hi Everton, how couple of games that go wrong for them, and they might start slipping down in that danger area there. But I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of shite at the bottom of that table. Bournemouth, Southampton, Everton, pretty bad. Leeds, pretty bad. West Ham, surprisingly, not going all that great this season. Leicester still struggling. Forest are starting to put wins together. I think they'll be all right, to be honest with you. I'll be surprised if they drop their star player, to try and keep them for 2 other games afterwards, where there's no guarantee they'll get any points out of them. So I would imagine they'll just take each game as it comes. That's what I would do. I mean, normally they'd be hell on if you didn't play your best player in a game. You want your best team out, don't you?
Yeah, you'd hope so, but then, are they going to hinder their chances? Did they say this one is the free hit and really want to, if they can beat these 2, they'd almost nearly guarantee their spot, I reckon, if you can put points between you and the ones below you.
Yeah, but why would they see us as a free hit? Our form is absolutely gash. We cannot score a goal to save our lives. I mean,
we'll get to
if
that.
nothing, they might look at this as a point, a good point they can try and go for here, and they'll have every chance of doing it as well, unless we can remember what that netty looking thing is between those posts that we don't seem to get anywhere near these days.
They need them, them big arrows. We need like the war flags to do like a whole heap of arrows for everyone to point towards.
Just one of those guys those American types who stand outside subways and that and just spinning the arrows and shit and just point.
Yeah.
Just as a dinosaur or something. But no, I would be surprised if they dropped the guy. But if he's knackered or some other reason why they might not want to play him, then fair enough. And if they do drop him, there's every chance he'll come on second half, I think.
Yeah. Just looking at Wolves' last 5 as well, they've sort of had a bit of licorice all sorts. They've sort of beaten Spurs and won at Southampton, which they're a real hit and miss at the moment, more probably miss than hit. They've lost to Bournemouth and Liverpool and actually drew at Fulham, which, given their form, is a pretty good result, actually. So it's going to be a real sort of what Wolves are we going to get, I reckon, on the weekend. But I'll definitely think their form is improving and has improved since the start of the year. Just a couple of things that I've dug up. We've actually played them 15 times. We've won 3 times. They've won 2 times, and there's actually been 10 draws. So that sort of leans into your point, Lee, about there's every chance that there will be a draw here, given the nature of the fixture between the 2 teams.
Maybe, but let me hit you with some more knowledge. Since their return to the Premier League in 2018, they've conceded exactly once in every 9 games that we've met them at St. James, I presume. I'm reading this off the BBC website. I didn't actually know that. I'm just reading it out verbatim, and it's kind of left me hanging with whether or not this is at home or not. So yeah, they've conceded exactly once in all 9 of their meetings with Newcastle. So they've won 2, drawn 6, lost 1. It's drawn 6 again. I mean, there's that stat that's pointing towards a possible and more likely outcome, isn't it? I mean, Keegs, you're the man to tell us what the score's going to be.
Everyone stay tuned, and I will give my predictions at the end of this pod. So make sure you hang around for that. If you haven't jumped off yet, make sure you give us a like and a comment on our YouTube as well. Leave a review on the audio platforms. Goes a long way to help us too. So if you're stuck with us for the first 10 minutes, quickly push pause, hit that thumb at the bottom of the screen, and then push play again. Anyway, moving on to one of these draws that you've spoken about, Lee, was the 1-1 draw earlier this year at the Molineux. Craig, what do you remember from that game, apart from the gorgeous 90th minute equaliser?
Well, you just stole me thunder there, mate, so thanks for that.
You're welcome.
I do remember they went 2-0 up, but obviously the second goal was disallowed with a blatant barge in the back on the midget and once previous Newcastle player, Ryan Fraser. He'll never play for the club again. So that goal was disallowed. I remember they scored a canny goal as well from outside of the box again. Neves, that player coming back into it. He's a bit of a specialist when it comes to shots outside the box, which is something we just don't seem to have. And I know he's a player we were actually linked with.
Do you mean shots or shots outside the box, or just shots in
shots
general?
from outside of the box? We got no specialist in that aspect, or shots in general at the minute, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, Neves, he scored a cracker of a goal. Max's goal was even better again, especially given how late in the game it was. But it was a to and fro game. It was pretty much all of them in the first half. We didn't have much of it. But second half, we were a lot more dominant. We even had a chance to win at the end when Anderson headed off the crossbar, if I remember. And then Neves came out and done his little speech where he came out whinging at how we were playing negative long ball tactics and everything like that. And it was completely the other way around.
So yeah, that's right. So Lee, given our 1-1 draw last time, do you think we'll sort of revert to them long ball tactics again, which sort of allowed us to have 64% possession and 11 more shots and 9 more corners and 193 more passes than them, and for them 2 XG wankers and XG of 2.5 to 1.3? Do you think we'll go with that long ball tactic again?
Maybe. Depends if it's going tits up, doesn't it? I'll also say we had 13 corners. I was going to read out those stats, but you just nicked them all off my tongue. So I'm just going to say the one you didn't mention. 13 corners.
You just get off the BBC website, would you?
I was just staring right at the screen. It's right on the BBC website. It's right there for me. Yeah, no, I mean, 64% possession doesn't suggest that we're just long balling all game, though, does it?
Yeah, it doesn't, does it?
And we had a pretty good possession against Man City. When you look at the stats, I think we were in the majority when it came to possession against City, albeit we lost 2-0, and that was away from home. So I don't know. I mean, I don't see why we'd launch it as a tactic unless we're desperate towards the end of the game or something. But I can't see that being the case. I'm actually really excited for this game because I reckon we're gonna do the business, and I think that might get our season rocking again.
Yeah, we need something, and I think for the last 2 or 3 weeks, I think most supporters and fans have been.
It's been shite.
But they've been in unison with what they would like to see happen, and hopefully, this is the week that the big dog gets a start, and we can sort of find something else to complain about. Hopefully, but
there'll be plenty.
You've both put your sides in, so you can analyze each other's sides shortly. So, I personally think that. I think we should go back to that long ball tactic we seemingly went for the first time we played them, given how effective it was. It's actually funny. Do you remember that goal that you spoke about, Craig, that got disallowed? I remember Maxi went charging down to try and stop the goal, and that's when he ended up doing his hamstring and missed a whole heap of time. Was from that effort. So, if he didn't like tracking back, that certainly was a final nail in the coffin, I think, for his tracking back defensive duties after he got injured trying to do it, and then ended up all for nothing yesterday. We'll move on to us now. Our last 5 has obviously been not great. Our last 5 in the league anyway, which is 2 losses and 3. We haven't actually put one in the W column for a while now. It's been spoken about at length why things are happening and what needs to be doing and stuff like that. But I'm keen to sort of pick both of your brains. We'll start off with you, Craig, I reckon. No, we'll start off with Lee.
It's me, man.
So Lee, this is your side. I'll read it out for you because I know you're not very good with the names, and then you can discuss. you can discuss. I've got a couple of questions for you. So it is Pope, Trippier, Sharp, Botman, Byrne, Bruno, Longstaff, Gordon as a midfield 3, Miggy, ASM, and the big dog Isak up front.
Have you managed to read it out like that? That was all over the place. You're going from left to right, man. Left to right, up and down. Yeah, man. Get on with it.
It's a poor slide for those playing at home. But anyway, what is Willock not picked on fitness or form?
It's more a case of I want that midfield slightly more reinforced without Big J Linton. And I think Longstaff and Willock together, given that neither's form is particularly startling, neither of them are particularly fast, at least not for the whole game. Longy does a lot of coverage. He does a lot of sort of deep defending, and I think that's usually why he's kept in the squad before and ahead of Willock. So I can see the sense of keeping him in. Bruno obviously is in there, and then I just think Gordon, he's got a lot of energy. He's very keen. He's brand new. He's looked dangerous every time he's played. I've really been impressed with him.
Yeah,
and I think if he's in the middle, he offers a bit more guile in breaking up play if we need that to happen, but he can also go forward as well. And he can spread out wide if he needs to. And then you've got Miggy on the right and ASM on the left that kind of speak for themselves. And then Isaac, big dog. I honestly, I'm not 100% on this. I know what you said before there. We all kind of want to see him starting. I've kind of thought he was a lot better coming on as an impact sub. When he did start not long ago, he didn't seem to do all that much. So I think he's better off sometimes coming on as an impact sub to take advantage of a tiring opposition. That being said, Wilson is just his head's just not right. I said it on this podcast long before the World Cup that I was worried that, and I said loads of times I didn't like the idea of the World Cup, and I don't like people coming here to try and get to the World Cup because for me it can mean that is their focus. And then when the World Cup disappears in the middle of a season, which is often, it doesn't usually happen, obviously, but like this time around it did. It just feels like he's kind of like went right. That was all that effort I put in. That's gone, and now I'm going to revert. I'm going to revert to just being a bit sort of off it. I wouldn't be surprised if he's still carrying around a bit of an injury. I don't know if it's his fitness. I don't know what it is, but maybe it's a combination of all those elements. That being said, still though, Eddie Howe likes him, and he's played him up front whenever he could. So I would not be at all surprised if you see Wilson at the front, and then maybe Isaac in the middle or down the right or something, and give Miggy a rest and put on Willock or something. I'm not sure. I don't think Target's ready either, so I wouldn't expect to see him start in place of Burn either. And if you take Burn off, you're just going to destroy his confidence, so it doesn't solve anything. Got a stat for you though. Wilson has played more games and more minutes, that's 8 and 661 respectively, against Wolves without scoring than he has against any other opponent. So that bodes well.
Those does.
Yeah, so Isaac's definitely starting. I hope for Twitter's sake that Isak starts, because it'll be an absolute. Elon will have to get the bloody Oompa Loompas riding overtime on them bikes to keep Twitter up and running, because I reckon it'll blow up if Wilson starts again. I think there's only so many chances you can give someone, and I know some people like to argue, oh, he's good at holding the ball up and this and that, but he's not in the side to hold the ball up. He's in the side. He gets paid to score goals, and if he's not creating them or scoring them, I think you should give that spot to someone else. But Craig, we'll move on to your team now, mate.
Yep.
Here we are, which is basically the same as Lee's. You've gone with Target, I assume, based on him being fit and available.
Correct.
You've given Miggy a spell and Gordon on there to cut in, I'm assuming, like Eddie likes to play.
Yeah, so I've got Gordon out on the right-hand side.
Yeah, so he cutting in on his left, same as sort of what Miggy's been doing, I guess. And Willock, you like Willock ahead of well, he had Gordon, but that's how you've sort of chucked your midfield three in there as well.
Yeah, well, the whole idea is ASM and Gordon to keep swapping flanks just to confuse the fullbacks, you know. Every now and again, ASM does like to drift out to the other side, and Gordon can do the same. Both can work on both flanks, operate, not a problem at all. Gordon is naturally right-footed, So you've got that option of the first time cross, which is something Trippier normally does, but Trippier may have to come a little bit further back with the way Wolves like to attack down that side. So if Gordon can get those first time balls in, whip them in, Isak can get on the end of them, then who knows? So that's part of my theory there. We know Miggy's got no right foot, so you can't cross his fingers, let alone a ball with that thing. So that would be my reasoning, again, just to keep them switching the flanks, just so we can keep pressure on their fullbacks and keep them guessing for the entire game. Willock has bags of energy, and I kind of take back what you said about Willock not being the fastest, Lee. His acceleration is pretty much up there with some of the best in the league. He can leave players for dead. Not a problem at all. So him with ASM bombing down that left-hand side and also giving defensive cover for target if Traore gets any game time. I know he's got no end product or anything, Traore, but his pace is blistering, so we're going to need a little bit of protection down that side as well. That's another reason why I've gone with target. He's just a bit more defensively minded on that left-hand side, whereas Burners obviously is centre-back by default.
Yeah, interesting. I think if Target's fit, which is the big if, we don't know.
Yeah.
Well, he's fit, but is he fit enough to play and
Not match fit.
contribute for 90 minutes? What's that?
He's not match fit, is he?
Yeah, that's what I mean. We don't know where his fitness levels are at, but I think when he is match fit, I think he should definitely come in and start and provide sort of a little bit more going forward, because we did speak about this even pre-World Cup, that opposition sides are just going to start loading up down there right, because that's where all our play comes from. That's where all our success comes from. So we sort of need someone to offer some threat going down the left as well to try and open up that defense a little bit more and make us a little bit more unpredictable, I guess, going forward. I'm just going to play a quick game. So you've both given me your teams and what you do. I'm keen to now what you think Eddie's going to do on a Sunday or Monday morning as well. So we'll just play it. It's a one-word answer. It's called bench or start. So what do you think these players will start the game or start on the bench? So we'll start with Callum Wilson. Craig, bench or start?
Start.
You think Eddie will start him? Lee?
Start.
Okay. ASM, bench or start, Lee? I'll come to you first.
Start.
Craig?
Start.
Joe Willock. Craig, will he start on the bench or start on the field?
Start.
Bench.
Lee? Bench. Oh, that's a bit of disagreements. That's what we want to see.
Willock rarely starts. I think I'm right in saying that, aren't I? He rarely starts.
I started pretty much every game all season.
Yeah.
Willock?
When they sort of...
Comes on a sub all the time, doesn't he?
Yeah.
No, he would have started heaps until he done his calf. I think he nicked. Was it his calf he did?
Calf or hamstring, one of the two, aye.
Yeah, I think it was his calf. Aaron Gordon.
Aaron Gordon. Aaron Gordon impacts up from the bench.
Lee?
Starts.
Miguel Almiron. Lee?
Starts.
Starts.
Okay. Oh, well, we've got that written down. We'll touch back in Monday night and we'll see who got the most points, and there will be a prize for the winner. Not sure what that prize is yet, but there will be a prize.
Yeah. We'll lose, I don't want it.
Yes. That pretty much covers the game. I just thought we'd tick off on a couple of tidbits, I guess, that have been kicking around the can this week. I think it was the Northern Echo had a story last night about our scouting network is going to be increased to up to 18 or 19. I think they've put an ad out, Craig, to try and cover that Central America, and for all types of players, not just youth players or senior players and stuff as well. What did you make of all that?
it makes perfect sense, doesn't it? Because they got to build the club from the ground up for the academy. That's where the real money is in terms of players sold, as we know. So even if they can get a few decent players in there, sell them on a relatively young age for a good amount of profit, or who knows, we could come across the next Ronaldo, R9 Ronaldo, that is. There's got to be another one out there somewhere.
The next
That type
Bruno.
of player is a generational talent, and if we can somehow manage to get someone half as good as what he was, then we've got a worldie on our hands. We've got some decent scouts out there. We had a few players linked in over, the January window? Was that Caroni who went to Man City, who was
Santos
playing
as
for
well.
Basinas? Yeah. Santos went to Chelsea as well. So there's two players we missed out on, who we were heavily linked there in January. So maybe that's why they're putting the extra feelers out, just to widen the net as much as they possibly can and see what talent we can haul in.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's good. I think it's got Dan Ashworth's fingerprints all over it, doesn't it? Build from the bottom up and feed and profit that way. Now, Lee, I've got one for you, mate. You probably wouldn't have seen this, but it did come across my desk during the week. John Henry. Are you familiar with him?
Give us a clue. The Liverpool guy?
Yes. No clues. The owner of Liverpool, the club with the third highest revenue in world football. He's done an interview with the Liverpool Echo, and he wants to limit spending in the Premier League on transfers. Lee, why would he want to do that, do you think?
It boggles the mind, doesn't it? You have to have a few more milliseconds to figure out why that is. They already limit spending, so I don't know what's the specifics of what he's proposing in this brain fart.
It's not fair that not everyone can spend the same. There should be a cap on what each club is allowed to spend, bearing in mind
there is a cap.
No, but but it doesn't matter what you are in relation to FFP and what sort of revenue you've got coming in. You can only spend a certain amount of that revenue to try and make the Premier League a bit more even, he says, make it a bit more fairer for everyone to win, so the best teams aren't winning all the time, bearing in mind that the best teams have already got the best players, and if no one else can spend money, then they won't really be able to catch them.
Well, look, if it was a rule that said every team in the Premier League cannot spend any more than 200 million on transfers in a window or in a season, I'd be all for that because why not? I mean, it stops it creates a level playing field, and the only issue then is, can these other teams spend that much in the first place? Probably can't, but then that's a reason for them to boost their commercial revenues. FFP right now says that you can spend X percentage, or you can lose a certain amount based on your commercial revenue, and that's essentially a cap. It allows the big teams to spend absolute bucket loads because they've already established these massive streams of revenue from around the world, and all the other teams are the ones left trying to kind of catch up, and in the meantime they can only spend a small tiny percentage of the minuscule amount that they bring in, which is exactly what's hobbling us right now. So I would have to see the specifics of what he's on about. I honestly thought you were going to say he wants to be bought out by Saudi Arabia or something. That's what I thought that was going to go.
No, I think
everyone seems to do that now.
Yeah, there was talk earlier. Was it this year or towards the end of last year about a potential investment getting bought out of the club? But he's been pretty firm, and he doesn't want to sell. He's got no intentions to sell the club, and why would he when it generates the money it does? It'd be
I mean, it's not like they can't spend a shit ton of money if they want to. Based purely on their revenue. So I can only assume if he's coming out and saying I want to make the league fairer, what he really means is he wants to make it easier for the top six to stay as the top six.
Exactly.
But I'd have to see this. I haven't seen that information. I'd have to see what the specifics of it were. But like I say, if everyone gets the same amount to spend, why not?
Yeah, which is basically the AFL model, isn't it? You've got a salary cap and everyone has to fit their 40, I think it's out to 38, 39 players now in that sort of salary cap, and you can pay however much you like to any player, but you've got to pay 38 of them. So spend it wisely.
And something else as well, which I think would be quite interesting, is you bring in a rule that says you can't change your manager outside of a transfer window for managers as well. Because it's pretty unfair. These big teams can just sack off these guys in the backroom staff and everyone else for tens of millions, bring someone else in on a new tens of millions anytime they really fancy it, and just crack on as if that's somehow fair for the rest of the league.
Yeah, everyone else
Like,
can do that. Yeah.
Why isn't it like a 2-week window or 1-week window before the actual transfer window? Just off the top of my head here, and that allows the teams to make the change at the top for the manager, and then they're stuck with that guy for the rest of there's either once a season or once per transfer window. And
I think maybe 2 weeks. 2 weeks before the transfer window makes a bit more sense because then they have a bit more time to actually plan the window and see
exactly
what they need and stuff like that. I think 1 week, if you're going to do that, 1 week does seem a little bit light on for time.
But you know what I mean, though? It's
just a thought. Definitely do.
Just a thought across your mind. It's like, how come it's fair they can do that? Just chuck money around as if it's nothing for managers, but anyway, that's just
that's another thing. AFL do that. They've got the soft cap, so you can only pay. You actually have a limit of how much you can pay your off-field staff, and that covers coaches, your medical team, sports science team, everything's. And then if you go over it, you actually have to pay a tax, which is I'm not 100% sure what that is, but that's another way they try and even the playing field in the AFL as well. So each club can only spend the same amount of money and on field and off field as well.
Yeah, there are answers, but the problem is when you've got 21 shareholders and 6 of them are the ones that are the most powerful and wield the biggest sticks. Really, you have to have the top 6 deciding. You've got the top 6 deciding on what goes and what doesn't. And
do you remember a couple of years ago they tried to do that? Remember a couple of years ago they tried to just say, "We'll them 6 clubs were going to account for maybe 70% of whatever the voting rights and stuff like that as well." So they have been trying to protect their clubs
interest
from people like us for a long time.
But I'm saying this because like any kind of notion of making the league fairer is bollocks from the start, because these guys don't want a fair league. Americans in sport don't want fair leagues. They just want ways to make money and stay at the top. And that's kind of a lot of what I see coming into these daft suggestions from this guy and Bowley and all the rest of them.
Yeah, that's how I interpreted that. The first thing I thought of was you just want to make it harder for anyone else to get in.
Of course they do.
Because now you're so far ahead of everyone else, you're going to make it impossible for people to catch up because you're going to make sure
and
the Super League, as much as you do.
The Super League was their wet dream where they never have to worry about relegation. They were just trying to Americanify it or Australianize the Football League, I should say, since there's no relegation over here either. Yeah. And everyone's happy as Larry. They just stop making money, left, right, and centre, and nobody has to worry about going up, going down. Anyway.
Yeah, which that could be another pod topic for another night. But
I'll keep going. I'll keep going if you don't hurry up, mate. I'll just keep on whinging.
That's really
with my super positivity.
Yeah, that's really out of character for you, whinging. So I don't want to sort of cut you off, but we're just about done, I think. Short, sharp. Finally, before we leave, probably the most important thing, Craig, your prediction for the game.
2-1 win.
Leroy?
Can you go first and I can just say what you say? No, I'm going to go for a 1-0 Mighty Mags win.
All right. I'm going to go for a 1-0 like you. No, I'm going for a 1-1 draw. That is my hot take.
We've got the league table to show. Where are we in the league table?
We are 6th. They are 13th. If you're looking at the numbers, and I've crunched the numbers yesterday and today, so yeah, it's 1-1 draw. Given my form, I'd put your house on it. Remember, the more you bet, the more you get. So 6 out of 7 doesn't lie. So yeah, load up on a 1-1 draw.
So 1-1 draw will basically take us. It'll keep us where we are, won't it?
Yeah. Oh, what's our goal?
Depends another result.
Yeah, no, we'll stay where we are. depending on
That's 7-0
Liverpool.
for
Obviously.
Liverpool's really helped their GD, hasn't it?
Mm.
Yeah, so we're on 41 and 6th, Liverpool 42 and 5th, Spurs 45 and 4th. It annoys the fuck out of me that Spurs have managed to get in the 4th. Balls my piss. Man United 49 and 3rd, Man City 58 and well, Man City and Arsenal out of sight, aren't they? Yeah, so a win for us could well take us into 4th.
Fourth.
That'd be nice. Because we
You
get
get 4 points or a win
41.
these days, Dave?
Yeah.
Oh,
Are we going to
bollocks,
win big and
sorry.
they're going to give us a bonus? I love.
Sorry, it's very small on my screen. I thought it was a 44. Yeah, 45.
No,
sorry.
all right.
Give us a rest.
We do
All
have
right.
2 games on Spurs, though, which is good. We need them.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think one of them against Brighton too, isn't it?
Brighton and West Ham. Plus, we've still got to play Spurs at St James's later on the season. So that'll be a massive game, that one.
Yeah, for sure. Well, stay tuned for that preview and review. Stay tuned for our review, which will be Monday night. I'm tipping there might be a few bleary-eyed humans doing that one. I'm not sure who it is, but they'll definitely be short of sleep. Lee, oh yeah, you'll definitely be short of sleep. Depending, you might not have watched it, so you might have to bluff your way through it and just.
That's what I do, man. That's what I do.
Something different for you. Anyway, that'll wrap us up for tonight. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks everyone for listening. We'll catch you next time on another Toon Under podcast. Thanks, boys.
How are the mags?
Cheers, mate. Have a good night.
Come on. Oh.
We're back.
You're bugging it. You're bugging it.